Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reviewing Comics with me, your host, Alexander Turbin. This week we're going to disengage a little bit from last week's um, bittersweet review of Stormbringer and just delve into the sweetness of Warlock 5, a comic from 1986. But before we get into that, I'd like to show you some of my own stuff. This is Random Access. It's a 12-page, full-size, full-color comic, and I produced this for my patrons for $3 a month. And like I said, you get 12 pages of full-size, full-color comics, and you also get a sticker to go with that. You can also check these out at alexanderturbin.com, or you can contact me directly at alexturbin04401 at Instagram. You can also check out Mutandis and a whole bunch of other stuff that I've done. But I'd also like to give out a shout out to Ken Landgraf and Kirk Ulford's excuse me, Kickstarter for the Ghoul Butcher. That's still going on, and I highly recommend it. It looks really fun and super cool, and I'll probably have more information for you on that in the next video. But let's get into Warlock 5. Like I said, from Aircel, it's from 1986, and I think it's 85 and 86. I really did not, I just got this issue like last week, and I had, before I think I had 9, and I just picked up number 2 like a couple months ago, but I really wanted to start the review with number 1, and I've read those other issues, and I was kind of lost. This is definitely a book where I think you need to kind of start from the beginning and kind of follow it through to its end. But even then, it's a little perplexing, but not in a bad way. So let's just get into this. Warlock 5 by Gordon Deary, who is the writer, and Dennis Bouvier is the artist. And I'm going to say this right off the bat. One of the reasons that I've always wanted to find this book and get this book is the beautiful art and just the way it's done. The storyline isn't too complex, but it's also something that is really something that I can really jive with, and I think it's really cool. I was afraid a little bit that my own series, Mage World, was a little bit too much like it, because the characters in this are very punkish, and the characters in Mage World are very punkish, very gothic punk, weird stuff like that. And so I was a little bit concerned that it was too much like that. But after reading the first issue, I find that I don't think I really have to worry. The only really connection is that you have 5 in Warlock 5. You have 5. I mean, you call them warlocks, but they don't really do magic. They use more guns and swords and stuff. In Mage World, it's just basically all magic. There is magic in it, but really it's done by the cronies and stuff. And also there is a dragon in here, and in Mage World there's a dragon. Maybe I will do some comparisons between Mage World and this. Mage World actually came out in 1993, so it's 6 years after this. But there's no plagiarism here, because I had never read this really before I had done that. But anyway, so let's delve into the story, and which there really isn't much of, and that's kind of my only real complaint. And then we'll go into the art and the writing and stuff like that. So we have here some sort of sorcerer, and really I thought that was the boss and that he was the protector, but you find out that he's the boss, because as you see, there's 5 warlocks, and they each are guardians of their realms. I'm not sure if they're different dimensions or planets or what. I haven't delved into that much yet. I'm going to read the second issue, definitely. I have it. I haven't read it yet, but I'm definitely going to. And so anyway, we're on Earth, I think. I'm pretty sure. Or they're on Earth. And he's opening a portal for his army. And basically he wants to invade the Earth with his army and take over the grid, and apparently the grid is some sort of nexus of realities in which they all can kind of get together and kind of combat for and stuff like that. It's very Highlanderish, or it feels very Highlanderish. It would be a cross between Highlander and Mage World, I think. But so you've got this armored knight, and they're invading the subway, which is kind of funny. But then it switches to another part of the world, or of the city. It's probably all takes place in New York. But I think it could also actually be Toronto, because this is a Canadian publication. But I'm just going to say it's New York City. So there's another faction, another warlock, and he is a cyborg of some sort. They're really taking a lot of the 80s kind of tropes. I mean, this is definitely a Terminator inspired thing, and I think that this is super inspired by Excalibur, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. But so you've got these robots, and you've got knights, and they're going off into the sewer to fight, and then excuse me. And then it switches to another scene, which is another reason that I'm a little concerned of its similarities between Mage World. Is there's this warlock, and there's two of them apparently, and they're allies. I think throughout the series, the five become allies and they become enemies, and they switch back and forth, kind of. So they find out that the two other warlocks are invading Manhattan, New York, or they're going to war with each other. So these guys are trying to go, and Tanith, I guess is her name, and they're trying to go and either talk peace or fight on one of the sides to see if one wins. So they're fighting over the grid, and basically you've got these heavily armored machine gun weapon vans or whatever, and you've got these knights. So the knights and the robot army start to fight, and they're just kind of going at it. It's kind of funny to see the bow and arrows are being shot at the flying robots and stuff. But he has a magician on his side, a mage or a wizard or whatever, but apparently there's some sort of thing that's blocking it. The technological standpoint is they have something to block it. So they just kind of go into a fight, and they attack each other, and they're definitely going to war over who's going to control the grid. And so the warlocks finally square up, and they start attacking each other. But Tanith and the other guy have different opinions of what's going to happen. So Tanith, I guess has a boyfriend who is a barbarian, and he's taken out from another dimension or another time or something. But he's definitely, they say a couple times that he's a barbarian or whatever. But he's in love with her, and he wants to do anything he can to help her, kind of like Daenerys and her boyfriend there. So then you've got this guy who kind of turns into a dragon, which is really cool, and another connection to Mage World. This is a little too similar for my taste, but because I have a dragon person in Mage World. But I am talking way too much about that and less about the comic, and which the action is really cool. It doesn't hold your hand and tell you exactly what's going on or why. It's just thrusting you into the fray, and that's perfectly okay. Shavishtar is one of the warlocks. That's the dragon. That's the dragon warlock. So you've got a dragon warlock, you've got a knight warlock, you've got a cyborg warlock, you've got a priestess warlock, and you're going to see another warlock, I guess. And they're constantly fighting. And it's a battle waged in the sewers. I think they're in the sewers, or they're in some sort of subway system or something, and they're just fighting. And the barbarian's using his machine gun, and then he goes after him with his sword. But click, 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 and then the barbarian gets killed by I can't remember what his name. Thorin, I think Thorin is the barbarian. It's good. It would take me a little while to know all their names and stuff, but she gets all pissed off, and she fights the there's Hellsbane, which is, I guess, a magical sword, and so they just kind of all break up because it's a not a truce, it's a stalemate. So all of the armies kind of back off, and Tanith finds her boyfriend Barbarian, who's dead, and she kind of vows revenge. And her ally, the dragon, they kind of just decide to take off after, yeah. And the dragon sees the barbarian boyfriend, and he feels sad for Tanith, but I don't know. I guess he doesn't want. They don't want any kind of survivors, or not survivors, but find any kind of leave any kind of trail behind, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So they take off. They're all about to leave, and she's leaving the subway, the subway system, and at the end is Zanaya, and she's, I guess, one of the other last warlocks, and they're gonna fight, I guess. So that's how it ends. Is Zanaya is gonna fight Tanith, I guess. There's another backup story in the back. It's like 6 or 7 pages. I'm not going to get into that. It's kind of just a science fiction story, which is pretty cool. There's a letter at the end, and it really tells you exactly nothing about the book. It tells you who the warlocks are, and Tanith, Dumador, Zanaya, Zervana, Savishtar, and Argon. And it really doesn't tell. It tells you that there's other dimensions. It tells you that there's a balance, and that they're all fighting, I guess. And that's basically it. So really, that's the crux of the story, is just kind of one big fight scene after another, which really is my only issue with the book, because I kind of wanted a little bit more story, a little bit more interaction between the characters, other than I want to kill you, I want to kill you. That's pretty. It's cool, it's fun, but hopefully the next issue has a little bit more than that, and I kind of don't think there is. So let's talk about the art. Let's talk about the art, and let's talk about the writing at the same time, because I feel like the writing is a little bit of the I'm not gonna say the worst of the book, but it's the art carries the book, definitely, with its characters and with its beautiful ink washes and stuff. There's so much texture and intricate detail. You really have to get in there close to really appreciate everything that's going on with this detail. I love how this panel is open. This whole splash page is open, and it really just brings out the gray washes and the gray tones. You've got lights and darks, and it's really, really fantastic. Really, the whole gray wash of the whole book is great. I've talked about Barry Blair's works before, Samurai and stuff like that, because he's the publisher of Aircel, and really they could have taken lesson from Billavier here. He does a fantastic job with the gray washes and the ink washes and stuff. Everything, it's not just one color. It's all different tones, and you really get here you get a great sense of where the light is, and how it's affecting the shadows and the shading and everything. And it's really great. The darkness of the subway system contrasted with the light of the the neon lights. It's almost like you can feel the flickering of the lights and of the subway system itself. And you've got the speed, textures going on. It's really fantastic work. All of the textures, it's such beautiful textures. Here's this light gray wash that is metal. It's obviously a really shiny metal. Steel doors of the elevator and of the escalator system. But it's really beautiful. I mean, you've got the skin muscles of the inner workings of the anatomy, contrasted by the inner workings of the mechanical robotics and cyborgs and stuff. And look at this. It's not a stippling. You've got this painterly feel here, and you've got this almost stippling. I think this may have been done with a toothbrush or whatever. You use the toothbrush to kind of splatter. It's got a beautiful splatter effect, which is very reminiscent of Bill Sienkiewicz, which is very beautiful. And it's just, I mean, I could just gush on and on about the art in this book. And it is really 100% of why I think somebody would pick this up. I'm not going to cast out judgment about the plot yet, because I've only read the first issue. I'm going to read the second issue. I'll probably do another review of the second issue, kind of just to let everybody know my feelings about whether it was a success, the second issue, or whether it was a failure going into the second issue. Because really, the first issue, you can kind of let a lot of stuff slide. If they're not explaining some of the characters, if they're not explaining the plot details, you can kind of let it slide because they're introducing these things. It's kind of like when a TV show just starts the show, and then the beginning credits start like 5 or 10 minutes after that. Like it's an introduction to what's going on. And sometimes that's okay and good, because you want to just dive into that action, and it's a different way of doing things. But if it still, after the second issue, doesn't lead anywhere, then I kind of feel like that's a little bit of a fail. But we'll see. I'll probably review issue 2 next month, and then maybe another issue later on after that. But I mean, the art, like I said, carries it. All of the narrative art is perfectly done, great. I did not have to go back and reread anything at all, and I was never lost as to what was happening in the action, even when it was cut to another character or another event happening, like right here. Well, it says elsewhere, but it wasn't a jolt. It really moves seamlessly from one one area, event, character to the next. And like even though there was no elsewhere for this one, I knew that it was another character being introduced, which that's good for a very first issue, because you want to get all these characters in, but you want to do it in a seamless way. I love in his art, like you've got this great perspective of the knight and Doomscore, I think his name is, and it's just he's got the whole layout of this comic done perfectly well. There's not a boring part in any of the action. It's not the characters aren't stiff. They're all moving around perfectly, wonderfully, and really I can't gush on enough about his art. It is truly beautiful. You kind of lose a little bit of the gray wash, which is okay. I mean, it's as most comics and artists go, you start off in the beginning of the comic and you're really into it, and you're just focused on doing as best you can, which you want to do the best you can in all the pages, all the issues, all the panels. But you get a little bit of fatigue, as the cartoonist kayfabe guys have said. And I mean, it really happens for everybody, where you get a little bit of fatigue, and then towards the end you kind of get a little bit more into it. But I mean, there's certainly pieces in a lot. I mean, look at that. That is a beautiful panel of the dragon, and this transformation, that is fantastic. And look at this fire gray tone wash. I mean, it is great, but then like you lose some of the grays but that's perfectly okay. Because you've got that fatigue, which is perfectly normal, but it's still fantastic looking. He does like he's not slacking on any of the action or any of the perspectives or anatomy or anything like that. So it looks really, really fantastic. My only, not a complaint, but I probably would have made this one panel and had her a little bit bigger, because that seems like it's a kind of a big moment in the book, because she's so angered by her boyfriend being killed. But I mean, look at this foreshortening and this hand. That is a beautiful, beautiful hand, and its expression on it. I mean, the expressions are beautiful, and it's not like sees some hack taking pictures from a magazine and copying them or whatever. You can tell that everything here is in his skill set, and it's really nicely done. So yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful book, and I'm definitely going to read more, and I'm going to pick up as many Warlock 5s as I can. And I would highly recommend it, if not for the story and the plot, but for the art just itself. I love the cover. I didn't say anything about the cover, and I love the back cover. I mean, these are all their little icons of the Warlocks, and they all have their own colors, and they all have their own kind of ways they are about them. You've got the priestess, knight, anarchist, dragon, technology, cyborg, robot, and that's what their electricity and lasers. It's a beautiful, this whole book cover and back cover is beautifully done. It's just great, and I love the lettering of the logo, and it's a really it's a beautiful book. So I'm going to give this probably an 8 out of 10. I would really, really love to give this a 10 out of 10. The art carries it, and the story isn't bad. I mean, the writing isn't bad. They all have their own voice, which I talk a lot about. It's really important for each character to have their own voice, and they have their own dialogue and dialect and ways of talking. But the story feels a little slim. I really would have preferred, instead of having a backup story, for them to kind of continue this and really throw in a couple pages of a little bit of exploring their backgrounds, where they come from, and each character and who they are. But they didn't do that, and that's okay too. It's not that huge of a detriment to the book. But like I said, I just kind of wish that they would have gone into a little bit more detail in that stuff. I'm hopeful for the next issues and all of the issues I get going on from here. So, yep, I'm going to give it an 8. If you guys like this kind of content, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. And if you could really give me a like on these videos, I'd really appreciate it. And so let me know what you guys think of Warlock 5. How many Warlock 5 fans are there out there? This has been a pleasure. It's been a long time coming reviewing this. This is probably the one book that I wanted to review the most when I started this channel. And I'm looking forward to doing some more. And so, yeah, let me know what you guys think. And have a great day. And thanks for watching.